Well, we are getting close to the fourth annual Shannon Valley Park Cornhole Tournament. It's happening. It's in conjunction with the HOA Oktoberfest. So there's going to be a lot happening down at the park Saturday, October 15th, starting at 4 o'clock. This cornhole tournament's been a fun event that the community has really gotten behind, especially this year. We've got 8 different sponsors, and we're going to talk about all of those sponsors in some other videos. But what I was able to do is get some of these sponsors, get a few minutes of their time, because we want to find out a little more about each one of the sponsors for the 4th annual cornhole tournament. In this video, I was excited to speak with Rob Harken with Harken Law. Let's take a listen. Well, I am very excited to be here with Rob Harken. I think those who watch this channel regularly saw our interview with Rob Harken several months back as a sponsor of Art in the Park. But we're here today, and I want to talk, not so much about Rob the attorney. I want to talk about initially, Rob the family man and just Rob the guy. So tell me a little bit about Rob the guy and Rob the family guy. Tell me about your background.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Iowa, northeast Iowa, up by Waterloo, Cedar Falls, pretty close to the Minnesota and Wisconsin border. Came down to Kansas City for law school. Met my wife in law school. She is actually originally lived in Shannon Valley, right up the street from where we lived.
Okay.
When Indian Valley School opened up, she was in 2nd or 3rd grade, so she went there and went to the same junior high that all the kids go to from here, and went to Blue Valley Northwest. And so when we were looking for houses, one here in Shannon Valley opened up, and she's like, well, I know what it's like to live here, so let's buy it. So that's what we did. So we've been here since 2005.
Okay.
We have, one child, Jacob, who's in kindergarten now at the school, Clough, and he is enjoying that. And we really do enjoy living in this area, both having the park and everything around here by our houses, but also easy access to get anywhere in Kansas City.
It is.
So like I said, went to law school at UMKC, met wife Stacy there, and we've just been living life here ever since.
Wonderful. Why did you choose to become an attorney of all the professions that were out there?
I wish I had a large or glamorous background story of some injustice that I saw or anything, but it really came down to I graduated college with a psych degree. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with that?
Sure.
So I knew I needed to do more postgraduate work. And so it was either I go into, graduate school or law school. And it was almost like a flip of a coin. I chose law school. UMKC helped me out with some tuition. So that was kind of a motivating factor.
Excellent. Thank you, UMKC.
So I came down here, moved down. It's a funny story. I was planning to take a year off from school. Then UMKC says, well, if you come down now, we'll waive out-of-state tuition and help you out. And so literally, within a week, I packed up my parents' van, drove down with my dad, and moved and found an apartment 2 days before law school started.
Wow. That's
went
fast.
to law school. So, I've always, I guess I've been able to fly by or dance around and fly by the seat of my pants, no problem.
Okay, well, wonderful. So how does someone know? How would someone in our neighborhood know if an issue is going on that they need legal counsel?
Well, I think a lot of it is a gut reaction. It just something's like, well, that doesn't seem right, or there's something I just don't know what may happen. I think, instinctively, you're going to know if you need some form of legal counsel. Your intuition is going to tell you that, or at the very least, like most people, you pull out your phone, you Google whatever's going on in your life, and then somehow some lawyer is going to have some blog or something that references, what happened to you or happened to your mom, dad, child, brother, sister, friend, whatever, and that might trigger you to do that. But I think really just that instinctive level and.
That makes sense. So what is the process? So if someone feels, hey, I need some legal counsel, I need representation, and they call you. And by the way, all of your contact information will be in the show notes below. But once they contact you, what's a typical process? What happens after a phone call, or even during the phone call?
Well, usually it's somebody will call and say, I need some legal help, and I go, and first thing I usually ask is, well, what happened that led you to decide you need to call me, and try to get as much background facts as I can, just to kind of see, what is going on. Is it, is it contractual in nature? Did somebody not pay you, or is somebody asking you to pay him, her, or the company because they provided some kind of service? Or is it, your 16-year-old son came home and got a speeding ticket, and you're like, oh, what's the ramifications of this? Or mom and dad are getting up there in age, and we want to figure out, how to be prepared for any circumstance that may happen, just whatever the case may be, just kind of getting that background facts. And then I use those background facts to kind of start developing a plan to say, okay, here is what I can do for you, or if it's something I can't do for you, here's somebody who can help you out, depending on what the issues are.
Okay. And I know we've talked a little bit about, reaching out to an attorney, reaching out to you reactively. So if something has happened, I know we've talked in the past about, needing to reach out proactively to, I guess, protect yourself in the future. For example, wills and trusts. And I know that you do wills and trusts. It's probably a topic that people don't always like talking about, their death. But talk a little bit about why having a will and a trust is important, and the process that comes with that as well.
Yeah. So conceptually, I always frame it as sort of estate planning. And what I mean by that is, when I meet with somebody, I don't just, we talk about will, we talk about the trust, the differences, which is the best form for them. But we also talk about other issues may arise. For example, not just having a will and trust, but do you want to have some form of power of attorney in place, both financially, healthcare, because, you can't plan for the future. You don't know what's going to happen next, but what you can do is control what's going on in your life right now, and have that control extend into the future, in that if something happens, you've already made a plan in place to cover that situation. Or, heaven forbid that, you're in a car accident and, you're incapable of, you're not conscious, and, who do you want to make those either healthcare decisions for you if you're unable to do that, or if you have finances that are only in your name, who do you want to be able to have access to those financial institutes, banks, your retirement accounts, whatever the case may be, just to make sure that while you're incapacitated, all your other issues, as far as making sure your bills are paid or whatever the case may be, are taken care of, and somebody's there to help you out. And I think most importantly, you're laying out the groundwork so other people know what your intent is and what your wishes are. Because like I said, you can't control what happens to you in the future, but you can at least have some control as to what happens if something unfortunate happens to you or your family members, so you can plan for that. So, we do a lot of healthcare power attorneys, financial plan attorneys, parents with young children. We can include, who do you want your children to live with if they're under the age of 18 and something happens to you. So you're just trying to plan out what may happen. It's one example of this is I had a client. She was in the 70s. She drafted a will and trust, but didn't have a power of attorney or anything in place. And then, fortunately, she I mean, she made it into the 90s, very healthy, very aware of her surroundings, but life is what it is. And she had her senior moments, and as she would describe them, and she needed assistance to make decisions for her. And she didn't have that power of attorney or thing in place. So we had to go to court, get a guardianship appointed. That all costs money. It's, something else you have to do in addition. If you would have had a power of attorney in place, a lot of those things could have been avoided. So that's why I talk about, if you make the decision now to take care of this, you control what happens in the future. Who among your children, friends, family can make decisions for you if you get to a point where you're unable to do that. So that's, I think, how I would frame it for people that might have concerns or don't want to think about, those issues. What you're really doing is you're controlling what you can in the future, even though we don't know what will happen in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, no, I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the folks here that live in Shannon Valley, Indian Creek Estate, or Hunters Point when it comes to maybe services you offer or anything that they should know?
Yeah, I own my own firm, so I've been practicing for close to 20 years now. So, I've got a wide variety of experience in a wide variety of things. Like I said, when that instinct kicks in, you're like, do I need an attorney for this, or how do I best proceed? I always tell people, give me a call. Let's talk about what you need, and then talk about, is that something I can provide, or if not, who can provide it? I've handled a lot of people's small business issues that arise. A lot of times it's just simple as, do I have to make this payment, or does somebody owe me a payment? And what are the ramifications of, you had this intent of this contractual relationship and to go in the future, and then unfortunately something happened, and things did not go as planned. Now, because something didn't go as planned, there is a breakdown of communication between you and whoever else you were dealing with. What are your legal rights? What are your legal obligations? And, ultimately, what is this going to cost your pocketbooks? I think that's what most people want to know. And that way, again, we can't predict the future, but we can at least try to control as much as we can as to what may come your way, especially if somebody is really hounding you for something. But, also, I've helped, people with, traffic issues, personal injury, something unfortunate happens to you and you're wondering, what kind of compensation you might be entitled to from either insurance company or the other party. I've been involved with a lot of those cases. So like I said, I do recommend just, I don't charge people for 30 minutes. I know some attorneys, if you reach out to them, they're going to want $100 or something for that initial consulting fee. I tend to avoid those. If you're to come in for 3 or 4 hours, that might be a different story, but I'm always happy to talk with somebody for 30, even 45 minutes just to figure out some kind of game plan and whether or not I can help them with it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, great. Well, we're going to have your contact information here on the screen. It'll be down in the show notes. Hey, thank you for being one of the sponsors of the 4th annual cornhole tournament. I know you'll be down there, and I would presume that if someone sees you and they have some questions, you would be more than welcome to talk with them briefly while you're down.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Rob, I will let you go about your day. Thank you very much. We will talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You stayed all the way to the end. Watch these videos right here to learn more about things going on in Overland Park and Kansas City.